Hi everybody, my name is Molly Jameson, and for this project, I focused on an article titled Divergent Habitat Use of Two Urban Lizard Species. So an overview of this article is that it was written and studied by 4 different authors, the first one being Kristen M. Winchell, Elizabeth J. Carlin, Alberto R. Rellin, and Liam J. Revel. This article explains an extensive research project involving around 2 different lizard species. When looking at 6 different urban environments in Puerto Rico, researchers studied the way that the lizards chose their habitats while observing their habitat use and preference. Puerto Rico is constantly evolving into an urbanized area. This being said, different species are adapting to this in an extremely different way. Some of these species are so adaptable to urbanization, while others simply can't adapt to such change. While doing multiple studies, researchers were able to observe that characteristics among species are what makes them more adaptable to urbanization in their habitats. These characteristics included small body change, diet requirements, able to adapt to human involvement, and a broad habitat. So before I begin, I would like to just go over some vocabulary that we should all be familiar with before I go on with the presentation. So first is the 2 lizards. We'll start with the chrysalis one. And this is just a very small lizard that are found in Puerto Rico. They will be one of the lizards that we are going to be studying and observing. And meanwhile, the other one, which is called Stratus, is a bigger lizard that is found in multiple areas, but a huge population of them come from Puerto Rico. Being that this species is brown and has more nature-like colors, they were able to use plants, trees, and other easily camouflaging areas to use for their habitat. This will be the second lizard that we will be focusing on. Urbanization is the other word that I would like to go over quickly. It is the process of humans moving into an area to make it so people can permanently live and grow effectively. And lastly, the anole is a small, mainly American lizard with a throat fan that mostly happens in males and is very typically brightly colored. I wanted just to focus on that quickly because the other 2 lizards that we are going to be focusing on are more brown and more nature colors. Meanwhile, this one is very bright and not so easily, he can't easily camouflage. So this is the look of the 2 lizards that we're going to be looking at today. They might look very similar, but they are extremely different in the way that they live. And in this presentation, I'm going to show you how different they live in their habitats. So the main aspects that we observed in the experiment are 1, where their habitat was, 2, why they chose that habitat, 3, how lizard habitats were different when they were placed in neighborhoods, 4, how the 2 lizard species reacted to urbanization and evolution, 5, how lizards are different when they are used to humans around their habitats, and lastly, the condition of their skin and health. So the methods and procedures, this study was occurred from April 24th, 2015 and went through until May 6, 2015. And during this time, they were able to carry out their research in the following areas in Puerto Rico. As you can see, every single one of these areas was in a neighborhood, besides that second one also had them in university campuses. So a lot of this has to do with people being around and how they reacted to, human-like everyday life. Between the hours of 8 a.m. and 7 p.m., researchers studied the habitat and the way lizards lived their everyday lives. What also was studied was how species of lizards chose their habitat and why they chose that particular habitat. This was the data being collected. In this graph, you're able to observe how the different lizard habitats are placed in urbanized areas, as well as the more woodsy areas. And this was the result of this observations. After collecting the data from over 487 lizards, it was made very obvious that the 2 species of lizards lived in very different habitats. In conclusion, the stratalus lizards were found to be living in trees, woods, and other nature-like habitats. Meanwhile, the crystallis lizards were found to be living in areas where humans were present. They were more likely to be less skittish around human activity because they were so used to it and it wasn't new to them. Meanwhile, the other lizard might have did not reside there because they, I guess, did not like human activity or weren't comfortable around that. This concluded that the different types of lizards react uniquely to urbanization, but they were able to still find beneficial habitats so they can continue their lives. And this is my works cited page. Thank you.